Our International Affairs Editor Kethevane Gorjestani joins us in the studio. Kethevane, good to have you with us there. We heard Pete Hegseth speaking about the fact that the ceasefire isn't over. This, of course, despite ongoing attacks.
Yes, over the past 24 hours, you've had quite a few exchanges of fires, whether it's between Iran and the United States or between Iran and the United Arab Emirates. Yesterday, the UAE was targeted by several missiles, several drones coming from Iran. They had to fend off most of them, but one of them actually hit in a crucial oil facility that was on fire after that. Then you had the exchanges of fire between the U.S. and Iran, with the Americans claiming that they had shot out 6 small Iranian boats, the Iranians saying that they had shot warning shots at the U.S. Navy. So all of that is happening. And what Pete Hegseth says there, and the message he's trying to send is, and he said it pretty much in those terms, that these low-level exchanges were not really meeting the threshold that would make this ceasefire not hold. So in their eyes, this is something that can happen, but that the ceasefire is holding. Donald Trump yesterday, sort of along the same lines, trying to downplay a little bit the extent or the importance of these attacks and this tit for tat, if you will. So downplaying the attacks, downplaying this idea that somehow the ceasefire is fragile and is not holding, because, of course, the idea is to reassure everyone that this is not happening, that this is not escalating, and that the Americans are actually in control there, and that they're not letting this thing get sort of out of control despite the attempts by the Iranians. That really fits in this narrative of really downplaying what you're seeing on the ground to sort of give this idea to everyone that the situation in and around the Strait of Hormuz is under control.
Well, the U.S., it would be interesting to know how they actually managed at all to reopen the strait.
Well, that was sort of the other aspect of Pete Hegseth's press conference. Downplay the attacks, insist that the ceasefire is holding, and at the same time sort of overplay the success of Project Freedom. That was something that Pete Hegseth repeated over and over, the idea that the Iranians don't control the Strait of Hormuz, that it is the Americans who control the Strait of Hormuz, that their mission, their Project Freedom, that is supposedly helping ships get out of the Strait of Hormuz, protect them in a way from Iranian fire, that is working. Yesterday, the Americans announced that 2 commercial ships had made it through the Strait of Hormuz and into the Gulf of Oman. The Iranians didn't completely confirm this, but now the Americans and the Secretary of Defense is saying that not only did these 2 ships make it out, but there are hundreds of other ships that are waiting in line, Pete Hegseth said, to take that same route. That might be true in the next days if they see that the situation holds. Right now, that is absolutely not what you're seeing on the ground. You are not seeing a line of ships who are saying, we feel comfortable enough that what the Americans have put into place is going to be secure enough for us to go through without risking being attacked by the Iranians. And that is really the crux of the problem here. The Americans can talk about, like Pete Hegseth, about this red, white, and blue bubble or dome over the Strait of Hormuz and how the Americans are present and securing this area, unless these shipping companies feel safe enough to take the risk to go through the Strait of Hormuz, they are not going to do that. And that likely will only happen if there is an actual deal that is agreed upon between the United States and Iran, not simply the Americans saying, we have figured out one route that we believe is safe. You should go ahead and take it. So far, at least, maybe it will change. Those majority of shipping companies have not